What do we do?
Suppose we'll have to have a conversation.
What?
Hello, welcome to Fast Return. I'm Sean.
And I'm Ethan, and today we're going to talk about Resolution. Not of the Daleks, just Resolution.
It should be of the Daleks.
Do you think?
I get for like the surprise element, like in retrospect, it's just...
Well, I suppose it's the last remnants of the era when they didn't want to make any backwards references to the history of the show, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it was when they were trying to be like all forward thinking and stuff and not make references to the past.
Yeah, Series 11 was sort of cut off from the rest of Doctor Who in terms of like baddies and things.
How to be a baddie.
Going into it, we didn't even know there was a Dalek in it, did we really?
No, we didn't. Before we recorded, we rewatched the Next Time trailer that aired at the end of Series 11 for the New Year's Day special, and it teases something returning, but doesn't give away that it's a Dalek.
This is the DNA of the most dangerous creature in the universe.
What?
It's been buried on Earth since the 9th century. It's not going to stop until it's taken control of this planet. It's going to kill anyone that gets in its path.
Does it have a name?
Yeah, I remember thinking that it was frustrating at the time because I think when the show felt so different, I just wanted something familiar, like to sort of ground it and make it feel more like it was Doctor Who. And that, I think, is the reason why, retrospectively, I enjoyed this more than I thought I would. Because now you watch it and you see it as part of like the whole of the trilogy of Dalek stories, and knowing what came after this, the fact that this one feels like more of a build up to that, it feels more right. Because I remember when we watched this for the first time, the lack of like publicity about the Dalek and stuff was a bit like, it felt like it was going to take the wind out of its sails a little bit, knowing that there was no big monster in it or anything. But obviously now watching it back without the pressure of, oh, I really want to see this, I really want to see that, knowing that you will see that bit in the following episode, I think I enjoy it more. But I remember at the time I found it quite frustrating. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it's tantalising, isn't it? I think we'll have to review Series 11 again because there are some episodes that I've literally only seen like once or twice, and I would love to revisit it as a whole because we've never done that. Because like you say, when you watch it on broadcast, it's got such like a pressure to it when it's live.
To be good.
You sort of hype it up in your head and you want it to be something, and maybe that clouds you from being able to enjoy it for what it is if that is different. So that's a whole other thing, but I do think it is a bit of a shame because Doctor Who has such a rich history to not draw upon that for a whole series. Yeah, I think that's a whole other conversation, but I loved the decision to bring a Dalek back for the New Year's Day special of the first series that Jodie did. And I liked the build up at the time that was something is going to return, but we're not going to tell you what it is. And the comments on the trailer on YouTube are like a time capsule because everyone's there like guessing what it will be. Some are saying it's the Master. Somebody said, I hope it's Harriet Jones.
Right.
And I think that spawned a bit of a meme at the time because people are like, please be the Pating.
God, the mighty Pating.
Somebody else put Jackie Tyler.
It's going to kill anyone that gets in its path.
Does it have a name?
Jackie Tyler, Rose's mum. Now, where the hell is my daughter?
Somebody else put, is it Tim Shaw's dentist? Somebody else said, the Absorbaloff. But yeah.
Right, okay, well, now they're just being ridiculous. This is interesting because they had a familiar monster in this story, but it's been very different with it, didn't they?
Yeah.
And it was like going back to the basics of the Doctor and the Daleks' relationship and stripped it right down. And I think both of us thought that was quite a refreshing take on it.
Definitely taking the Daleks back down and like building up a new like foundation for them. We were drawing a lot of parallels between this and Dalek in Series 1. It really tries to make one Dalek scary again. And
threatening more than anything. Because I think in Moffat's era, they had a tendency to they did do a lot of quite contrived like Dalek timeline stuff and like Dalek hierarchy stuff, and with all the different color schemes by the end of it, it was all a bit like muddied. I think people needed to just see that one could be perfectly dangerous on its own, and this story does a fantastic job of doing that, like as it builds up through the whole adventure. The stuff in it where the Daleks like fighting the army towards the end, like that's like brilliant stuff to see after having stories where the Daleks are just limited to like wandering around control rooms en masse, not really doing that much.
Or having a cameo.
Yeah, because as much as I love Magician's Apprentice and The Witcher's Familiar, like for other reasons, to me it's more of a Davros story.
Yeah.
Like Genesis of the Daleks is more about Davros than the Daleks themselves. And without going off on a tangent, it's nice that a Dalek gets the spotlight to just kind of do Dalek things, but so well.
Yeah, Magician's Apprentice is not a Dalek story. It's like a Davros character piece, I would think.
Yeah.
And it does that really well. But if you really like are craving a Dalek story, especially one that's set like Earthbound, this ticks all of the boxes.
It scratches that itch, doesn't it? 100%.
Definitely. And that's something I will always give Chris Chibnall a huge amount of credit for. I think that he writes the Daleks really well. I think he writes the Cybermen really well. And those are some of his strongest points, I think. Yeah,
and some of the strongest episodes too for me by a long way. I think the Dalek, the fact that it's a trilogy, whether he intended it to or not, it kind of echoes the 80s Dalek stories, how they loosely form a trilogy. And obviously Eve's more disconnected, but it's the fact that he did something wildly different with them for the first one. The second one's like an old style faction war that fans had wanted since the 80s to happen again.
Like a remembrance.
Yeah, exactly. But with like modern touches to it, like the political stuff and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Eve is probably the most typical usage of the Daleks of the three stories. But what it does do is that it's like a bottle kind of, they're like trapped in one space.
Yeah.
And it's done brilliantly. And they all do different things really well. That's what watching these back-to-backs made me realise.
It's been really nice to rewatch them all as a trilogy. I know we did it in the wrong order, but you still see that evolution.
Yeah.
And that's been really nice to see because we've never gone back and done that. We've always sort of gone back and maybe watched one or two of these episodes, you know, just as a random episode that we put on, but to watch them in a row is has been really interesting. Even watching them in the wrong order has been interesting.
Yeah.
To see the de-evolution where it ended and then where it started has been really cool. I really like how in this story he sort of like reinvents the Daleks a little bit, but in a way that, because last night we were watching series 5, so if anyone follows us on Twitter, I've been tweeting that we've been watching Doctor Who from series 1 with my sister, and that's been really, really fun. And we're up to series 5 now. And last night we watched Victory of the Dalek. I feel like Moffat was trying to do what Chibnall did with Resolution, but it didn't quite work, where he's trying to reinvent the Daleks a little bit. In Resolution, it's done a lot more effectively, do you know?
Yeah, I think, if I'm being honest with you, with Victory, the thing that I found the worst about it watching it yesterday, not that everything about it's bad, but what grated on me the most is the fact that the Daleks come back and they just do the exact same stuff that had been done with them seconds before.
Yeah.
Like even the first thing the Supreme Dalek does is it tries to shoot the Doctor and it misses him. And I remember when we were watching it at the time, my mum was like, oh, so they've not improved the aim then.
Yeah.
Like he can still run away from them and they can't predict to shoot in front of where he's going to run, do you know?
Yeah.
And that's just a bit like, in like a functional of it, it's a little bit like, apart from the set design being a bad choice and all the other stuff. But this one's all tell. And then it shows the Dalek can do all this amazing stuff. Victory tells you the Daleks can do all this amazing stuff, and then it's not shown.
This is completely circumstantial that we watched Victory last night after watching Resolution together. Resolution feels so grown up and adult, and Victory feels so kiddie now. And like, I love how much Chibnall writes this story like it's a horror film. The mutant, it's horrific in this story.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrific. Like I think he pushed quite a few boundaries with it.
Yeah.
There were moments where we were looking at it through our fingers, you know, especially like the body horror element.
Tentacles going into Lynn's back.
Into Lynn's back, not just going into it, like you see it, you know, you see where her skin is like rippled, where the tentacle has gone inside her back and is like attached to her spine. And it's like, wow, like they really did that, you know?
Even in Revolution of the Daleks, they don't show it that bluntly.
Yeah.
It's on his back, like it's latched onto his back, but you don't see it actually go into Leo's back. Whereas with her, there's a whole shot where it just shows massive, like thick tentacles going into her spine. It's like, oh. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think obviously like series 5, it is famously like a bit tonally all over the place in certain episodes.
And we're finding that at the moment as we're watching it in order.
And I think now that we get older, I do see like some of the flaws of it. But I mean, at the time, I thought the tone wasn't the issue. I thought other things were the problem. But now I see that tonally it is a bit mixed up.
And they do fix that in Maximus Zero.
Yeah.
Like when they come back in Asylum, they're a lot more grown up.
Yeah, but I think as well, like it's just series 5, isn't it? They were trying to make it so they could get some of the young kids on board.
Back on board, yeah.
And this is different. It does feel more mature. Yeah, I agree. And the atmosphere and all the visuals and the setting of it all work perfectly, I think, in this story, I have to say.
So the episode kicks off and it is like a movie, and it is set in medieval times in Britain, and these factions of warriors have banded together to defeat.
Which is like an unknown enemy, isn't it?
And they manage to defeat it, and to ensure that it stays dead, they decide to cut it up into 3 pieces and bury those 3 pieces and guard them in different locations on Earth. So one of them is Anuta Island in the South Pacific, Siberia, Russia, and Yorkshire, England.
Yeah.
And we were thinking that the person who got to go to Anuta Island, they get the best end of the deal.
Oh, yeah.
Because they just got a bloody holiday out of it.
They got the long straw, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they could just sit on the beach and have a relax.
Exactly. Have a little daiquiri. Just chill, really.
Yeah.
The one who went to Siberia, Russia, I mean, wow, that is probably the shortest straw.
Yeah.
And then the poor sod who is going to Yorkshire, England, and then just gets murdered along the way by highwaymen.
Yeah, I think it's quite funny that we were like, Yorkshire's not exactly a desolate part of the world, is it? It's not far away from anywhere, really.
Maybe it was back then, though.
Yeah, but do you think that's where he was actually going, or do you think it was because he was knocked off his horse that's where it stopped?
Yeah, probably.
We don't really know, do we?
No.
He might have been taking it, like, I don't know, up to Scotland, like right at the top of the UK or something like that, one of the isles up there.
There's a really cool shot that you really liked as well, where the person who is slain in Yorkshire, they drop the segment of the mutant, and there's sort of this slow fade where it turns into this excavation site in really present day, like 2019.
Yeah.
And that's when we meet Mitch and Lynn.
Yeah, I really like it when Doctor Who shows the same place but in different times. And in this, there's a really nice shot that really captures like what it must be like for actual excavators, because you see the camera pan away from this area and where this guy fell off his horse, and like there's like around it the excavation site forms, like time is passing. It's really nicely done, like the way that it just fades from one to the next thing. And it's like we've just seen this happen, and now here's the reaction of what happened all those years ago. Yeah. It's really cool, really nicely done.
Yeah, Mitch and Lynn, they're excavating this plot, which is underneath Sheffield Town Hall. It was very timely. It had been in the news that in real life,
he was the last English king to die in battle, depicted by Shakespeare as a scheming hunchback. Richard III was killed in 1485, and the whereabouts of his body has been a mystery for centuries. Now scientists have confirmed beyond reasonable doubt that they found it, buried under a car park in Leicester.
They found Richard III in a car park in Leicester. No reason we can't find Alfred the Great under Sheffield Town Hall.
No reason. Oh, apart from history and geography.
Yeah, I was never very good at those.
Clearly, Chibnall drew inspiration from that. They built this sewer set, and it's so well done. Like these curved brick walls and the water running through the centre of it. And there's some beautiful imagery. So it was directed by Wayne Yip.
Yeah.
A fantastic director. He did a few episodes of Misfits. I mean, that's a very visually like unique show. He also directed 2 of my favourite Class episodes, The Metaphysical Engine,
right,
which is directed beautifully. And he also did 2 episodes in Series 10, The Lie of the Land and Empress of Mars. Empress of Mars especially is a very
rich episode.
Very stylish episode.
I remember thinking the sewer set, I was really surprised there was actually a set. But yeah, like very atmospheric and quite creepy as well. We know that whatever it is these people are going to uncover is going to cause, a lot of misery.
And they do. They find this segment of Dalek mutant and they bag it and they put it under a UV light, which activates it.
Yeah, it starts to twitch, doesn't it?
It starts to it's disgusting. And there's like all moisture in the bag. It was like boiling the bag, Dalek. Uncle Ben's sort of setup. Anyway, so then we catch up with the gang, the fam.
Yeah.
And they're watching a firework display in space.
Yeah. But they sort of travelled around, haven't they? Jodie's like, we've been travelling through different New Year's Eves.
And that's when an alarm sounds. The TARDIS is alerting them to the fact that Mitch and Lynn have found this
something alien
segment. Yeah.
It's quite a fun idea that she's got like a little alarm set up so that if anything alien's detected on Earth in its improper place, she gets notified.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder why she hasn't done that till now.
Yeah. The TARDIS lands and the shot of the TARDIS materializing is beautiful. It's like reflected in the water.
It lands in the water, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really, really well done.
Yeah, that's funny.
But unfortunately, the TARDIS gets there slightly too late because the mutant is reformed.
Oh, yeah.
And it's sort of scurried away.
Yeah.
And Lynn investigates. There's a really creepy shot of this giant mutant clinging to the moist brick sewer wall.
Yeah, she shines a torch up at it, doesn't she?
Yeah, and decides to touch it. And I was like,
yeah,
girl, really? Would you do that?
They made them like spidery and sort of squid-like, didn't they? So it's less like an alien now, and it's more like, you might imagine like a giant, like a deep sea squid or something to look like. It's just kind of like this amorphous blob with like lumps on it where the eyes would have been. You know how the Russell T Davies ones had like a brain and some eyes and stuff like that?
Yeah.
There's no recognizable kind of like major features to it, apart from the fact it's got a big kind of lump in the middle and then loads of tentacles. And the way that it's shown is like it's never shown moving fast, is it? But it's like squid-like, but spidery, the way its legs are all splayed out on the wall.
And you can tell that it's really strong as well.
That's massive, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a great departure from the Russell mutant and the Moffat mutants, because those ones they were puppets, and you can imagine that they wouldn't move very fast. Like if you imagine in the end of Dalek, the little tentacle that just slowly moves up and down, But this, you can imagine it scurrying after you. In fact, I don't think it happens in the episode, but I sort of imagined the mutant sort of swimming through that water before it climbed the wall, like a shark, a shark fin just sailing through.
Yeah.
I actually misremembered, and I thought that Lynn got attacked by it. It just sort of jumped out the water, but my memory of this episode was completely wrong.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. You see them jump in the next one.
Yes, yeah.
In Resolution, they sort of jump down from those cage
things. It attacks
things.
Yeah.
And Leo as well.
Yeah, and that's terrifying.
And that's scary, yeah. But you're right about them seeming stronger.
Chibnall has made the mutants on their own without the tank dangerous, which we've not had in New Who.
No.
And they're scary.
Point. Yeah.
And they don't need a tank and a death ray to attack you and to be feared and things. So that alone is such an achievement that Chibnall pulled that off in this episode.
Yeah.
Because they are absolutely terrifying. But this made me laugh. So the last you see of Lynn, she's looking at the Dalek mutant on the wall and she sort of goes up to touch it.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the Doctor coming out of the TARDIS with the gang and investigating and chatting to Mitch. And they're like, oh, where's Lynn? And he's like, oh yeah, she's over there. She's just gone to check something out. Let's go see how she is. So they all go over to her and all of a sudden she's got this jacket on and the mutant's gone. And I just love the imagery of like the mutant looking for like a jacket to accessorize with and hide underneath.
Yeah.
And how it manages to like hide under that jacket without giving her like the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah. Well, it's also like things like when she's sat in the car seat.
You really liked how Yaz was acting in this scene.
Yeah.
Like a police officer.
Yeah, so the doctor's like, right, it's not safe. You need to go and get rid of these two while I take some samples. Mm-hmm. And Yaz is like, I've got your details. I'll call you if you need anything. Let's go up here. And she gets them out, doesn't she? She takes them outside.
Come on, let's get you out of here.
What about the site? Look, there are valuable historical artifacts down here. We've been working on this for months.
We'll make sure it's all kept safe. I've got your details now, so we'll let you know when it's okay to come back down.
She was using her police officer training to reassure them and essentially clear this crime scene. The situation's under control.
Yeah, true.
You're both fine. I'm going to take you outside now. We're going to look into this. I've got your details. We'll be in touch.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, I wish that her character did that more, like drew on the fact that she was a police officer.
Yeah.
A bit like Martha in series 3 when she'd be traveling with the doctor and like somebody would get injured and she'd sort of use her training to like tend to them. And the same for Rory in Vampires in Venice that we watched yesterday. When that lady gets bitten by the vampire, he's assessing her like a nurse. He goes into nurse mode.
Yeah.
And I love that. It really like adds to their character.
Yeah.
They go back into the TARDIS. The doctor takes a sample, doesn't she, of the goo that was left behind.
Yeah.
To see try and find what it is. She's very much like 2 steps behind in this episode. But that again is like how scary the mutant is, because it's clearly super intelligent. It's always a step ahead of the doctor. They go back to Graham's gaff. As their base.
They do. And the Mitch and Lynn had a bit of like a romance bubbling up, didn't they?
Yeah.
And now the Dalek's attached to her. She is not interested. And he's like, should we swap numbers? Should we go for a date? And she just walks off with this Dalek creature attached to her. Because obviously it's controlling her, isn't it? And he's kind of left on his own. Meanwhile, the doctor and co go to Graham's and she starts to analyse it, doesn't she? And that's when she works it out.
I thought Mitch was a bit creepy because they left the sewer and Mitch immediately texts her and says, still thinking about you. And it's like, Jesus.
Well, it's like, it sounds like they've been friends for a long time and they've got like a bubbling romance that's been going for a while, but not really taken off.
Yeah.
So I think it's more the fact that they would have accelerated things had the Dalek not have been attached to her. And that's what puts a hold on it. Because obviously when the Dalek's attached to her, she just like blankly looks at her phone and puts it away.
I love the idea of the Dalek mutant like flirting over text, choosing those emojis. Sexting,
trying to be normal. Yeah, it's funny because there's several things that it makes Lynn do in this that a Dalek would never have had the ability to do. And like the bit like later on when she's driving the car, she's like speeding.
Yeah.
And it's really funny that a Dalek mutant would be like, faster, faster. And it's like this creature that's been buried in pieces underground for hundreds of years. It's back together again. It's happily riding around on someone's back and it's speeding down the motorway.
Yeah.
It's like, it's living its best life.
Causing havoc.
Faster. Nothing shall halt the mission.
Oh, I liked it when the TARDIS lands on one of Graham's dining room chairs.
Yeah.
It's like, you broke my chair, Doc.
Oi, Doctor, it's part of a set.
So then we get a knock at the door, don't we? Or a ring of the doorbell.
Oh, yeah.
And it sort of played for laughs, but I don't think it really landed. And it's that like thing where Graham opens the door and he's like, nope, and shuts the door again on Ryan's dad.
Yeah.
And it's also very, very coincidental that Ryan's dad turns up after all those years, the one day they decide to land back home.
Yeah, but isn't it because it's New Year's Day and he decided to turn over a new leaf? And so it's New Year's Day, but it is a little bit like, I mean, all the stuff with Ryan's dad, I remember it being a lot worse than it is in terms of slowing the plot down and slowing the episode down. The scenes of it in this do feel very slow and drawn out, but it's not as bad as I remember it being. But this is the moment, this scene, when it starts to feel a bit like I'm not really sure what we're supposed to be feeling, like the way that Ryan reacts to him. I don't find that very easy to read. I feel it's a bit like Graham's talking to him and Ryan's not really being very chatty, but they're obviously both pissed off with him. And it's just a bit like, I don't know, really. I feel it doesn't quite work for me. Doesn't quite hit right.
I tell you what I did like in this scene. The doctor really amps up the laughs. When the doorbell rings, she's like, is that your intruder alarm or mine?
Oh, yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
And then it rings again and she's like, intruder alert again. And when Aaron comes in, we both loved the fact that the Doctor reads Aaron to filth.
Yeah, she does. She just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
She
she's
just
like,
blasts him.
Hi, Ryan's dad.
Aaron.
You weren't at Grace's funeral.
No.
Ryan waited for you. You let him down.
you went at Grace's funeral.
Yeah.
And then she's like,
Ryan's really upset with you.
Yeah, Ryan waited for you. You let him down.
Yeah.
And I was like, good.
Yeah.
Good on you. Like, it's one of those times when, because I think the 13th Doctor, she can be quite blunt.
Yeah.
And a little bit rude. And sometimes it's quite misplaced. But in this situation, it's absolutely spot on.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love to see it. And I love to see Ryan's dad squirm for what he did to Ryan. That's great.
Yeah, and that clears it up in it. You can see why Ryan would want to be with someone like the Doctor.
Yeah.
Because she supports him, and when he's kind of like quiet and meek because of what his dad's done, she's there to help him, and that makes sense. It would be nice to have seen a bit more of that sort of thing.
I think Aaron should have stayed with the Doctor, and so should have Ryan. And there shouldn't have been this thing where they go off together, and it takes them away from the action. Like, I would have enjoyed this dynamic a lot more if it was in amongst the action, and you had the bounce off between the Doctor and Ryan and Aaron the whole time.
Yeah,
because Ryan does give him a bit of a free pass, and it just makes it a bit boring.
Yeah, I agree.
So this for me was the best part of seeing Ryan's dad, was to see the Doctor read him his rights.
Yeah,
and you know, he gets to see Ryan's life and how much better off he is sort of without him, really.
Yeah. But yeah, so they go off, don't they? So the Doctor and Yaz go off to investigate their findings, pretty much.
And Ryan and Aaron decide to go to a cafe.
Yeah, to chat.
But so Ryan leaves, and Aaron and Graham have a bit of an awkward conversation where...
Yeah, Ryan goes to the toilet.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It says, I'm going to get my coat, or I'm going to the loo or something.
Yeah,
and he's gone for ages. And that's when they have their little chat.
Yeah. And Graham says, like, be gentle with him. He's been through a lot. And Aaron's like, I know. And Graham's like, no, you have no idea. And Aaron's quite kind of hostile towards Graham. And he's got no right, because this is the man that actually stuck around and raised Ryan. And when
not that you'd know that from the way that Ryan acts around him, but anyway.
No, I know. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But when Ryan calls Graham Gramps, Aaron's like, Gramps?
Yeah.
And Graham's like, see you later, son. He just ignores him. He's got no right to be awkward about that. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
It's weird. I still don't really know why Ryan's dad left. I don't really know why.
We might know. Maybe it was talked about in like The Woman Who Fell to Earth. We'll have to go back and watch that at some point. They go off and we cut back into the action. Lynn, bless her heart, she's at home.
Yes,
she's in the bathroom looking at herself and takes off her jacket, and that mutant breathes a sigh of relief to get out of that prison of cheap polyester. And we hear it speak for the first time, and it's a much deeper voice, isn't it? And it's really scary.
Yeah.
What are you? I am your pilot now. Do not fight me. I have control of your body. All brain and motor functions are under my power.
Please. No.
Silence. See how I control you. Turn. Look. You are my prisoner now. You are my puppet.
Which is interesting because I think it's the first time that a mutant's been shown to speak outside its casing. Because in the old series, they couldn't talk without the casing because they didn't have vocal cords. Like, they didn't develop vocal cords anymore. That's why they could just squeak and like make shrieking noises. So to have this one being able to speak is it like telepathic maybe?
No, because the Doctor talks to it when it's on Lynn's back.
Oh yeah, true.
Or is her mouth moving? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it speaks through her, doesn't it?
Right, okay.
It sounds like an electronic voice. So It's just interesting, but it's really got like a personality, hasn't it? This mutant is very like vindictive and aggressive.
They name it the Reconnaissance Scout.
Yeah.
So it's like a specific faction of Dalek. So that was also quite interesting. But yeah, it's telling Lynn that it's in control now. Do not fight me. I have control of your body. And that's when you see the tentacles in her spine. And he calls her his puppet, and it's like, and it's pulsating, and it's just massive.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's horrible.
Puts me off calamari.
Yeah, definitely. I thought this was quite funny. Lynn decides to have a shower.
Yeah.
And then gets into a cozy little dressing gown. And then she sits at a computer and opens her laptop. She's like little work from home girly.
Yeah.
With this mutant attached to her. Oh, God. But the mutant, after it's had its, pampering sesh, wants information. So
he's using her to go on the internet, isn't he? And to learn things.
After the shower.
Yeah.
Bit of herbal essences. Smells like eucalyptus and rose hip, Well,
look, she's been wandering around in the sewers, and that Dalek's been buried under the ground in 3 different parts of the world for hundreds of years. So you would want a little warm shower, wouldn't you?
You would want a bit of pampering.
Yeah.
Lynn logs into MDZ research on her laptop, and through other screens looks at UNIT's Black Archive database. Lynn realizes that it's going to use her to break into these places to retrieve certain items
that it needs.
Yeah. And then Yasmin tries to ring Lynn, and we thought this was really funny when Yaz is like, "Hi, it's Yasmin Khan. We met in the sewers earlier."
Hi, it's Yasmin Khan. We met in the sewers earlier. Can you give me a call?
Like they'd forget.
Yeah.
But just so she definitely knows it's
her. Yeah.
We met in the sewers.
Because the Doctor has to go and get Mitch and her, doesn't she?
Yes, they're going to retrieve them.
And they're not able to get her, obviously. And then Mitch is just on his own waiting around, and they grab him.
That's the first indication something's very wrong. And that's then when Lynn obtains a car, and the mutant is like, "Faster, increase speed. Nothing shall halt the mission."
Yeah.
And she's going 100 miles per hour, and they fly by a police car.
Yeah.
And then the police are in pursuit. That policeman, I got bad vibes. The amount of time he said, "Love, can you wind your window down for me, please, love? Do you know the speed you're doing, love?" It's like, excuse me?
Yeah. Anyway, he gets his comeuppance, doesn't he?
I was pleased to see it, actually.
Yeah. There's an exceptionally silly moment when the other police officer is on their phone or something in the car.
Reading a book or something. Yeah.
They're not looking at what's going on when they've just pulled somebody over. So when she looks up from her book, she realises that the other policeman's legs are sticking out of the passenger window.
Just
kicking. While the driver's window, while the Dalek mutant presumably tries to pull him into the car. I don't know.
When the policeman is like, "You were doing it over 100 miles an hour. What have you got to say about that?" And Lynn's like, "You are an enemy of the Daleks." And the policeman's like, "I'm what? Sorry." And Lynn's like, "You are an enemy of the Daleks." And the policeman's like, "And how are you spelling that?" It's so good. And then the mutant reveals itself. When the woman sees him get attacked, she's like, "Flipping heck."
In the next moment, she snatches the police car, doesn't she? And leaves them both lying by the road.
And snatches the policewoman's clothes. She leaves the nude.
Yeah. Yeah.
The mutant then offers Lynn a nice little compliment and says, "You're a useful soldier."
Yeah.
That's, she's getting credit.
Yeah, well, she's being forced to drive somewhere against her will.
Yeah.
Basically at gunpoint.
So this is like the biggest gripe with the episode. It only happens once, I think. And there's all this exciting action. You've got a police car chase. You've got a Dalek mutant driving 100 miles an hour down the motorway, attacking policemen and heading towards the Black Archive to steal something. And then it cuts to a calf.
This one's a combination, microwave and full oven. Both functions are the best quality you can get. I swear this is the best you can have.
Sorry, not for me, mate.
This is a new thing you're doing?
Only so long a man can walk offshore. Given up being on the rigs? Let's just say I've been examining my life choices lately. I'm not sure if this is the answer.
Get them online, can't you?
Yeah, yes, except for this one, it's actually really good. A mate of mine makes it. I helped him with some of the specs. It's the best working oven you can get.
Microwave and full oven, both functions are the best quality you can get.
Yeah.
I swear, this is the best you can have. And there's a whole bit of dialogue where he's trying to sell this guy a microwave.
It's just like, I'm not interested, mate.
And it's like, Chris, we've got a limited runtime here. This is a Dalek episode. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What is happening
It's
here?
a bit misguided, isn't it? It feels a little bit...
What is going on?
Unnecessary. Yeah, and I think that scene as well, like, I remember watching this thinking, oh God, the episode's ticking away and this scene's going on forever. And it doesn't go on for all that long. I think it might only be about 6 minutes or something. But like, it feels really long. It drags it down. It drags it so, especially because functionally, it just basically says, Ryan's dad is not seen him for a long time. He's taken this opportunity to drag Ryan to a cafe. He's trying to sell microwaves. Ryan's not impressed. Acts all quiet. That's it. It's not, they don't really make any ground, do they, in this scene?
This is what I mean. It
doesn't function in any way.
There would have been better development for these characters if they'd been thrust into the action with the Doctor.
Yeah.
And this sort of conversation, like the purpose of it could have been done in a more exciting way, in a better way, in a more engaging way, if they were still in the action with the Doctor, than taking them away and letting it last, like drag out for 6 minutes in a calf.
Yeah, I think the thing they wanted to do was show that Ryan's dad is still a bit like, he's not really focused. He's trying to sell these microwaves, but I just feel like it's a bit like, you could have made that point without dragging them all the way over to a different location and slowing it all down. Do you know, it's fine.
So back into the action.
Let's move on. Yeah.
So Yasmin's on the phone to Mitch and the Doctor hones in on that signal. And in the same conversation, the Doctor hones in on the signal, lands the TARDIS as Mitch is having the same conversation with Yaz.
Yes, sure, yeah.
And they pick up Mitch and he goes into the TARDIS. And I really like that the Doctor lets Yaz welcome Mitch to the TARDIS. The Doctor's like in the background working on this thing. So I really like that.
With Mitch in the TARDIS, they want to track the Dalek, don't they? So they know where it's going. They managed to track it down to the weapons store. And that's the next location that it goes to before it realises it's being tracked.
And they know at this point that the mutant is holding Lynn hostage.
Yeah.
The Doctor isn't very compassionate in this scene. She says to Mitch,
You mean it's holding her hostage?
I'm really sorry, Mitch. I think it's crueler than that. I think it's using her to move about.
How can you be so sure?
I learned to think like a Dalek a long time ago.
in a different situation, I think that a Doctor might have been a bit more reassuring. Like, they're using her, but I'm gonna save her, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But we found that with the 13th Doctor, sometimes she's part of her character is that she's quite socially awkward and she doesn't say the right things.
Yeah.
So she's not as empathetic as other incarnations. But anyway, yeah. Then we get the infamous kill the gays scene.
Yeah, we meet a nice security guard.
Yeah,
who's got a boyfriend, as he mentions,
in ADR. But
yeah, and he's then killed, obviously. And we think to ourselves, why on earth in this really high-tech facility is there one young police officer or guard, and that's it? Lynn makes him feel disarmed when he sees that she's got a policewoman's outfit on, which is what I guess the idea was. But still, it just feels a bit mean. Like, we get introduced to this character who gets murdered, and it's like, oh, okay.
He is killed. Like, it's quite explicit that he is killed. And I just feel like they could have just knocked him out. They needed his thumb, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, because she kills him and then she just drags his arm up and uses it to enter the room, doesn't she?
It was a little bit unnecessary.
Yeah, it felt a bit cruel.
It felt a little bit too cruel, yeah, but because that is obviously a trope, kill the gays.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, there's a whole like website sort of dedicated to it where every TV show that introduces a gay character and they get killed, and it's like an actual trope that should be avoided where possible, or is only utilised when absolutely necessary. And this didn't feel very necessary because the way it's added in ADR and then and then he's killed.
Yeah.
It's just a bit odd. Doesn't quite sit right. But anyway.
Yeah. So she breaks in and we realise what she was looking for all along is the original weapon of the Dalek that was destroyed. The casing was destroyed by these people years and years and years ago. The gun survives and it's being kept in this facility. And she like nabs it, doesn't she, before she makes her escape.
Surely the technology of a Dalek death ray would have changed the course of human history.
Yeah, you have to wonder how it ended up being kept all those years. Would it not be in a museum?
World War I would have had Dalek death rays if it was.
Oh God, yeah.
But anyway,
yeah, and also we realise that this is it's implied here, and it's shown later on that the casing of the Dalek was just a gold one.
Yeah. So the Doctor manages to get in touch with Lynn and the mutant.
Release the woman you're holding prisoner.
What's it doing?
I think it's laughing. Now, do that again to my face.
It's laughing. It's awful.
Yeah.
And
quite sinister.
Yeah, and then the Doctor sort of manifests the hologram fully and says, "Now do that again to my face."
Yeah. Do that again to my face, I dare you.
Yeah. And then they have a fist fight.
But yeah, it's funny because the Daleks don't really do that sort of thing. But this mutant, it feels very like it's quite petty. It wants to get like the little digs in where it can because it's so confident that it's gonna succeed. You know.
Yeah. And the Doctor kept them talking long enough to trace the location.
Yeah.
So that's the whole purpose of this scene, is to track Lynn.
It's so funny because she can't help herself from being like, I've kept you talking long enough to get a fix on you, and now I'm going to trace you. And it's like, why did she say that? Because they wouldn't have noticed that she'd done that if she hadn't said anything. But it's so the audience can follow it, isn't it?
It's what everyone says, isn't it? Sometimes Chibnall writes things where you could listen to them and know what was going on without the visual.
Yeah.
And it's a gripe that some people have. It's very like exposition-y and very like very much tells you what's going on when you could see what's going on, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sort of audio describes things. But because like you say, the Doctor could have used the element of surprise to their advantage, but decided to just blurt out the plan anyway. But
also, I think it's so that they can do the next cool thing, which is that when the Dalek mutant angrily like switches off the communications thing, and they get back in the car to start driving to the next location, Lynn uses the Dalek gun to like shoot out CCTV cameras so the Doctor can't trace them.
That's cool. That was cool.
And that's, I think, the reason why they do it, because it's so that they can have it fight back on its way to the next stop.
You wouldn't want to make it angry though, like especially if Lynn's life is at risk. If I was Mitch, I'd be like, Doctor, what are you doing? But anyway, so then we cut back to Graham's house. So Ryan and Aaron have returned to Graham's house.
They're still there.
Yeah. Graham's got a jar of Sainsbury's peanut butter, it says in the script, specifically Sainsbury's.
Right.
The TARDIS dematerializes and leaves Graham and Aaron behind.
Yeah.
Ryan's gone inside, I think, which is interesting because it allows Graham and Aaron to have their sort of face off. But again, I still think it would have been served better if it just kept them in the action and the way that the characters act and make decisions like as part of the main plot sort of dictates these conversations and things like that. Because Aaron, when he does eventually get into the TARDIS and stuff and he sees the Doctor's life, what it is, he's not particularly fazed. So you could have done that a lot earlier.
He doesn't really have a reaction to it, does he?
No. So you could have done that a lot earlier and it would have been quite believable because he just seems like a chill guy. Yeah, so Lynn heads to the junkyard and they kill another side character who has one line.
Right.
The junkyard owner.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Don't know his name. Don't know if he has a name.
No.
But he's killed. Yeah, so Lynn begins using the junk to build a new casing.
Yeah.
Which is a really cool scene. Music's amazing and it's like a montage sequence.
A montage, you might say. A collage.
Quite impressive how they managed to do this in the amount of time we're led to believe that they had between the TARDIS landing and Lynn being there.
It's revealed that they're making a casing, isn't it? And the Doctor seems to know, she seems to preemptively know that there's going to be a standoff.
The Doctor tries to call for help. The Doctor tries to call UNIT.
Oh, and,
yeah. You okay?
Sorry, I messed up my chocolate on my foot. Okay, I'm ready.
So the Doctor tries to call UNIT for help and finds out that UNIT has been disbanded.
Unified Intelligence Task Force. This is incredibly urgent. The fate of the entire planet is at stake.
I'm checking for you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Unit operations have been suspended pending review.
What? No, it can't have been. UNIT is a fundamentally vital protection for planet Earth against alien invasion.
Yes, but when did that last happen?
Now! Right now! What happened to it?
Just checking. All unit operations were put on hold following financial disputes and subsequent funding withdrawal by the UK's major international partners.
You kidding?
Other armed forces are available if you can answer a couple of questions to help me best direct your call.
Yeah, by call centre Polly. If I have my own TV show, I'm going to have my characters have names like call centre Polly. We love a relatable queen.
We do. I think that Polly is Diva of the Week. 100%.
Unhelpful Polly.
Call Centre Polly is Diva of the Week. She gets that title with no qualms at all. She took the role, ate up everything.
And the scenery.
And left no crumbs. UK Security Helpline, this is Polly, how can I help?
You could have been call centre Polly. Call centre Polly.
This is incredibly urgent. The fate of the entire planet is at stake. Checking for you.
And she's like, right, checking for you.
Oh, I'm so sorry, but unit operations have been suspended pending review.
And Doctor's like, bloody Tories.
Oh, yeah.
First it's the arts, then it's unit.
You're funny.
These men are so funny.
Just checking.
Just checking.
I love her. I love Polly. Big Finish, Polly now. We need the Polly box set. We need the War Polly. We need...
Oh, didn't you know? They've already done one.
They've already done 10. Polly and Jackie Tyler team up against the Krillitane.
Against the Rachnos.
They be with the Rachnos.
It's called Call Centre Drama. Now it's personnel.
To be fair, the Rachnos did love a HR department. Just typing my email to Nick Briggs right now. Anyway.
Yeah.
So then we leave the action. We leave the action and we go back to Graham's house, who's rooting through, wait for it, a plastic storage box.
Oh, yeah. It's just Ryan. When my mum died, my dad got rid of all her stuff. And it'd be a bit of a funny one, my dad. I don't know why I did that, but it was a way of coping. It was his way of coping, Ryan. So here's all your old shit. Have a look through it, mate. Maybe help you out. Sorry. Here's all your old shit from when you were a boy.
I will say this much. You know, it's dealing with the topic of grief in a way that I think that Moffat and Capaldi dealt with it better. It's just such top tier writing for what grief is depicted in Doctor Who. When 12 says when somebody dies, it's not the day after that's hard. It's the weeks that follow.
Yeah.
It's when they keep being gone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's just...
Yeah, the Capaldi stuff is like beautifully poetic, isn't it?
Yeah, and then you've got this. When my mum died, she got rid of her worst shit.
But I do think, having said all that, actually, I did actually quite appreciate this because it's kind of like very matter of fact the way that it's put across, and life isn't always beautiful, and it isn't always poetic, and it isn't always like sentimental. Because I often think about it with my own like grandparents. I think about Gran and stuff. I think, why the hell didn't she keep anything? Because all we have of Gran is like a suitcase now of like old pictures and stuff. And I think, how can you live a life that's that long? But that's what she was like. She wasn't sentimental. So when her partner died, she did just get rid of loads of stuff. And for us living today, that seems so silly and so weird to chuck it all away. But people were different back then, weren't they? And that's just their way of coping. Gran just moved on. Do you know? So it's like, I think people different people are reacting different ways to things. And that was her way of coping with it. And that's what she did. Because she felt like she was sad about it, but she'd say to Mum when she was upset, "Oh, well, what's the point in it? It's not going to be back, is it? He's never going to need it again." Do you know? That was her way of coping. So I do see where Graham's coming from when he says that about Ryan's, right? He says that about his family. Because to me now, it's easy for me to say, "Oh, I don't know why Graham chucked all that away. It's silly." But she did it because she thought it was her best way of coping with it at the time. And she wouldn't have thought, 40 years later, here I am wondering what she did with it all. Do you know?
Yeah.
So
look at you.
I sort of get it.
Yeah, that's nice.
So I'm joking about it, but it's just because it is funny, isn't it? Like, we're used to Doctor Who being like that, like the Moffat example. And Graham, he's just telling it like it is.
Yeah, he's grounded. He's from the East End, mate.
Yeah.
I love, sorry, this isn't relevant to this, but I've just noticed it. I love the stage direction. Lynn exterminates farm worker Dinkle.
He's called Farm Worker Dinkle?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
He could be...
This is the same show where we have characters like Pigbin Josh in The Claws of Axos that are like homeless, like hillbilly people.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's the same show.
Yeah.
What's it called? What's it called? Sorry, something Finkel.
Farm Worker Dinkle.
Right.
Can I help you? What do you want? Because I'm busy. All right, enough. Go on. Off me farm. I don't care what you've been told. All that stuff's been paid for and I can prove it.
I think we should have a minute of silence for Farm Worker Dinkle.
The War Finkel.
It's not Finkel, it's Dinkle.
Right, I'm getting carried away now.
No, we need to have a minute silence for Farm Worker Dinkle.
Right. Sorry, my hot chocolate is too nice to stop drinking for this minute of silence. So Farm Worker Finkel.
Okay, thank you.
You're really doing this, aren't you? You're really doing this minute. Okay, let's move on.
Lynn tries to fight the mutant.
She's not able for it, is she? She's too weak.
So then the TARDIS catches up with where Lynn is on this junkyard, and the TARDIS lands in a field, and it's a really picturesque image of the TARDIS landing in this field.
She's like, "I'm going to try and reason with it. You all stay here because it's too dangerous." And Yaz is like, "You always leave us on our own."
She doesn't say that, but that is the gist. You're right. Yeah, I love that. You can just surmise it.
But isn't that where the Doctor finds the body of the worker,
Farm Worker Dinkle?
Yeah, and that's when she realizes that that he's got an energy weapon, because she says about how it's the sign of Dalek energy weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, am I getting confused with Eve?
I think you're getting confused with Eve.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I think
right.
they did find it.
That's all the signs of Dalek weapon.
That's how she knows it's got a weapon.
That's what was at MDZ.
Right.
It went and found it after all this time. Yeah, there we go. So the Doctor goes in on her own.
Yeah.
And there's a really cool sequence where the Dalek comes back with a bang.
Blocking your laser signals, mate. You're not fully in sync yet. So that's what you've been doing. Reconstructing yourself from memory. And remnants. And spare parts.
I am rebuilt.
What do you call this, look? Junkyard chic.
Earth is now under the control of the Daleks.
No, it's not. You couldn't even control one person.
Humanity will surrender.
In its new casing. Well,
yeah, this is one of the best scenes of the whole episode for me.
I say new. She's a bit rusty.
Yeah,
she's,
you might say that. Yeah,
she's been left out in the rain.
Yeah,
and so the Dalek explodes into this room, screaming "Exterminate!" What do you think of the new design?
Yeah, it's good. It's like the defense drones, isn't it? It's like you can't look at it as the new Dalek design, because in the story's context, it's only for that specific story. Do you know?
It serves a purpose.
And I think if they'd taken the shape of this one and made it look like an actual real Dalek, I don't think it would work. But again, in this context, it just about makes sense, because it's been built out of scrap metal quickly. And it looks better than it has any reason to, frankly, given the circumstances. And it's really cool. It's a really cool design. It's like a one-off Dalek design. And I like it. I think I like it more now than I did when it first appeared, actually.
Yeah, it definitely, it makes a lot of sense for the story. The Daleks are very confident. It's like Earth is now under the control of the Daleks.
Yeah.
So it's ditched Lynn, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird to me that it lets her live.
Yeah, when it kills Leo in Revolution.
Yeah. It is odd to me because I don't know why it would do that really, but maybe it's because I was thinking if it knew that it had limited time, rather than trying to strangle her or whatever it would do to her, it's probably just detached from her and then it's had to go into the casing, do you know? This
one seems a lot more desperate.
Yeah.
It's been in stasis for so long. It just wants to get into its casing and start its attack, its offensive. Yeah, so they have a really cool sort of standoff.
Yeah.
And the Dalek decides to ditch, to prioritize summoning the Dalek fleet. So it takes off. I mean, to be fair to Lynn, there's a lot of tech in this casing. It doesn't look like much, but my God, she had time to equip it with all the special features that you pay extra for, like the ability to elevate.
I mean, yeah. When you think about it, it is a bit like, how did she get that anti-grav technology out of bits of scrap metal? How did that happen, honey?
She's just that good.
Period, Pete. Period.
I just think it's probably a tad far-fetched, but I don't really care.
No, you have to suspend belief.
Like, I don't, it doesn't bother me.
No.
Because it's stuff like, you know, like later on when it has that fight with the tank and it has those little bombs inside, doesn't it? Those little mortar missile things. Like, how does that happen? But also, I don't care.
No, I don't care. Who cares?
It's an alien, so whatever. Anyway, yeah, so it epically like crashes out the ceiling, doesn't it? And then flies off.
And they go after it.
Well, the Doctor goes back to the TARDIS and Yas is like, did you stop it? And she's like, no, I just made it angry.
Yeah. And let it get away.
Yeah.
Slightly riled it and let it get away. And we get, like you said earlier, we get one of the coolest Dalek scenes ever. Like, I think this really does stand up.
Yeah. This is a fantastic bit, this battle sequence.
I don't know if I've missed something, but the military are aware of a Dalek and they confront it. I don't know if we see that happen, but like you say, who cares? So the military in a tank face off with a Dalek.
Surrender!
Did it just talk?
Allocated surrender period has expired. Consequence extermination!
Run.
What?
The Dalek race is supreme!
Oh, it's brilliant. Like the tank fires and the Dalek reveals it has its own missiles in its hemispheres and time like slows down and the Dalek has like calculated the trajectory of the tank's missile and with its own missile just taps it off course so it doesn't hit it.
Yeah.
But then its own missile goes inside of the tank and just completely obliterates it.
It's a very cool like image and idea. And again, it's a bit like they could have not done this, but it's like the police stuff in Revolution of the Daleks. It's so cool. They came up with like new imagery and new things for the Daleks to do.
Yeah.
And this whole scene's a bit interesting because I don't really remember it being referenced in the script, but I don't know why the Dalek decides to stop here where there's this like blockade of like vans and military vehicles, but it's sort of flying through, isn't it? And he stops and then they have this little fight. And it single-handedly takes out like 3 vans worth of soldiers, and there's explosions and they're shooting at it, and it's really epic and exciting. They drop like flies, don't they? Which is all the more impressive given that its gun doesn't seem to be able to like move.
Yeah.
It's just like shooting in a straight line. But I don't care. It's really, really fun, really exciting, like Dalek battle scene. Kind of like the one in Dalek when it takes out loads of soldiers single-handedly. But whereas that Dalek was able to use its brain, this one's just like killing people, like just going for it with its basic casing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really cool. It's the sort of thing that I think we were lacking a little bit in the Moffat era. And things like gunfire and like the laser beams from the Dalek finally have like that weight and impact again that they used to have. Because I always say this to you, Sean, about the Moffat era generally, like they get very comfortable with like light little bloop, bloop, bloop lasers just flying all over the place, and there's no like impact or drama to it, like from Dalek guns and from ships and stuff. Do you like in the Time War bits? And this took that away, and every time it shoots, it hits something, and it's like a really like dramatic impact, isn't it?
Yeah.
They reinstated the sound effect of the gun from Remembrance as
like
well.
that touch.
In the background of the new series one, the Remembrance gun noise is in the background as well.
That's a really nice touch.
When it like impacts stuff. Yeah. So it's a really good scene. And then after now the soldiers have been put out of the way, it makes its way to is it ICU?
The GCHQ, Cheltenham.
Right. That one.
Because it's going to use the GCHQ to call the Dalek fleet.
Right.
And that's where they have sort of the final standoff.
It's a great image. The Dalek crashes through this like domed computer room, doesn't it?
That set is really cool.
And it's a wide, dark room with banks of computers everywhere and loads of like consoles and terminals all around the middle of the room. The Dalek descends from this like glass dome that it smashes through. And then as it lands, the TARDIS materializes in the other end of the room and it spins round, doesn't it? It's just one of those really nicely like almost choreographed scenes where everything happens like in quick succession, do you know?
Yeah. So the Doctor cuts off all communication from this building, which includes the Wi-Fi to the UK.
Oh, yeah.
And we get...
Everything's gone off. No Wi-Fi, no phone signal. It's all down.
Not even Netflix.
Nothing.
What do we do?
Suppose we'll have to have a conversation.
What?
Oh, Mum, my Nintendo's broken. The TV's gone down.
What, mate? You turned off the Wi-Fi on New Year's Day when everything's shut and everyone's gone over? Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about this little...
The family bit.
It's a very, like, dad joke.
Oh, I suppose we'll have to have
a conversation.
What? What, Mum? What, Mum? I fucking hate you, Mum!
Yeah, I mean, like, you know how we talk about Divas of the Week? These actresses giving... these actors giving absolutely everything.
She's giving corpse.
She's giving absolutely nothing. She's left a feast behind.
To be fair, what is there to take from a line like that, really?
Yeah. No, I'm not discrediting the actress.
Conversation.
A conversation.
What? What? My Super Mario's broken.
Oh, God.
I hate you, Mum. That's what it would really be like.
Yeah. But
anyway, sorry.
Back to the GCHQ, and we do get a really cool scene. Although we do get a bit of a 13th Doctor line that me and you quote all of the time.
It's safe, gang.
Do you think I'm daft enough to stand here without shields? It's safe, gang.
Yeah, I struggle a bit with some of this. So the bit where she's like, I've given you a chance because I'm nice. And then she turns to her gang that are all behind her. She's like, I did give it a chance, didn't I? I did. I'm nice. It's just like, okay, we didn't need that, really.
They all say it, don't they? They're like, yeah, yep.
Sorry. No, so, and I think it's just a bit too much. Like, she needs to ask it if it's, I mean, obviously, it wants to kill everyone. It's not like she doesn't know what Daleks are like. It's just a bit like, oh, okay, we didn't need all that. But anyway, it's fine.
And then, so they stop talking, they stop bloody chin wagging, and then they get on with it. And the
Dalek's like, hide behind your shield, Doctor.
Oh,
you and your human friends. You have failed.
Well, we somehow skipped over the fact that Aaron's now joined the TARDIS. He has like no dialogue, so I didn't notice.
No, the only significant thing is that Aaron gets into the TARDIS from Graham's
with his
house
microwave.
With his microwave for some reason. And and that's obviously going to be relevant for the near future.
Yeah, the Doctor, like, I think Aaron says that he built the microwave himself.
Right.
Which sounds a bit dangerous. I don't think that'll pass PAT testing.
Sounds a bit dicey to me. Isn't it like a radioactive element inside a microwave?
There is, yeah.
Right.
I mean, he's trying to sell it to that cafe owner. I mean, that poor cafe owner could have plugged that in and boiled his own brain.
He puts it in the TARDIS, just like, yeah, that's fine. Just don't give us all radiation poisoning while you're at it.
The Doctor ends up pulling it apart anyway.
Yeah, right. Okay, so anyway. So while we didn't get to see it, did we? But while the Daleks like landing in that room, the Doctor and Co come up with like a plan that we haven't seen. So after she offers it a chance to surrender, she's like, right, let's do it. And then they kick the plan into action, don't they?
She's like, now, gang.
She leaves the shield and does like a slow motion Matrix style like skid across the floor.
She leaves skid marks.
It's the fact she says, that's the best skid I've ever done. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's just a bit too much. Like, we don't need that kind of dialogue. Anyway, it's fine.
But this is what I mean. Like, it's cool to watch. But then she gets up and she tells us what she just did as if we didn't see it. Like,
I'm
it's
really
a big
proud of that one.
Yeah.
That was a great skiddy, yes. No. Okay. No, yeah. You know, and then it undermines it, doesn't
Better than
it?
your skid marks, right?
Stop. So anyway.
Cut the cameras.
Cut the cameras. Dead ass.
So she skids up to the Dalek and it's distracted, obviously, because there's like 6 people running towards it. They've taken the microwave apart and they put it all over his casing. And they do the clever thing that we talked about last time, where they all get right up to the Dalek. And because it hasn't got any like defenses, it can't like knock them off or anything. It can't shoot them because it's on its own. Mm-hmm. It's powerless to do anything. So they strap all these bits of like the microwave to it and then turn it up. And I just remember her saying something like, da-da-da-da, very, very high voltage.
In case you didn't know.
And then the casing starts to melt. The Dalek's like, isn't it?
Bang. Dalek gurgle.
Yeah. And so it's destroyed. Well, they think, obviously, we know now it's not destroyed, but the casing starts to melt, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And
the doctor finds out that the signal didn't call the Daleks.
Yes, they didn't get a chance to do it in time, did he? She was a bit too quick for him.
Mm-hmm. The skid marks are too quick.
Yeah. And then they go back to the TARDIS all happy as Larry.
Not as happy as Farmer Dinkle.
Well, no, because he's dead.
And
nothing about that character says farmer to me. Is he really called Farmer Dinkle?
Farm worker Dinkle, yeah.
Right, okay. I thought it was like a warehouse foreman. You know, because it's like a warehouse, isn't it?
I'll get sad again.
It's more of a warehouse than it is a farmhouse, if I'm being honest, isn't it? It's got loads of metal sheets in it. It was giving industrial warehouse in Sheffield rather than farmhouse to me. Anyway, then there's a big twist.
There's always a twist. There's always a twist. There's always a twist at the end.
Ryan's dad picks up the mutant.
He doesn't bend over and pick it out of the casing, does he? It latches onto his back.
Yeah, that one.
That becomes obvious when the TARDIS is in flight and the Doctor decides the best way to get rid of it is to open the doors.
And yeet Ryan's dad out.
It's like she doesn't really think about it.
She doesn't care.
She opens the doors. Ryan's dad's not really ready for her to do what she does. And then she's shocked when Ryan's dad nearly gets pulled out of the doors with the mutant still attached to his back. He's like, what did you think was going to happen, hon?
She's like...
It wasn't just going to let go.
This is what I wanted to do to you since the start.
Yeah. This is for hurting my mate.
Yeah.
Die.
This is for Grace. This is for her.
Jackie Tyler! This is for her!
So anyway, yeah, Aaron's like struggling and everyone's like clinging on. And the Dalek mutant's obviously clinging on for dear life as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts to look like Ryan's dad's going to fall out of the TARDIS doors, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Ryan kind of grabs onto his hand. This is probably one of the only times when Ryan really like goes for it, and it's probably one of his best moments, I think, because Ryan, you can tell that he's really kind of like he's really kind of giving it his all. Do you know?
Yeah, it's scary because like the mutant is holding Ryan's dad hostage and tells the Doctor to take the TARDIS to the Dalek fleet and it thinks it's got control of the TARDIS, and it's a really cool second wind, I thought. Because the action from before, that was a really satisfying end. So the fact the mutant survived that and activates plan B.
Yeah. They had a backup plan.
Ryan's dad holds on to Ryan, right? And the mutant is yeeted.
Yeah,
but he survives because he's back in Revolution. Oh no, he's cloned.
Yeah, bits of the cells. But so it's kind of like a symbolic thing, isn't it? Because Ryan's seen fit to grab his dad's hand, so they're sort of bonded together, and the mutant hasn't got any, there's no one for it to grab to. And for whatever reason, I think like the speed increases or something, and it's not able to hold on, so then it falls into the time vortex, doesn't it? And it's killed.
Or like a black hole or something like that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, Ryan and Aaron are so bonded now that he never appears again. So that's good.
But it's weird because I do feel a bit like, as far as Ryan goes, this is like the peak of his kind of story growth.
With his dad.
Yeah, but what else happens to Ryan in Series 12? Nothing. What other growth does he have? Apart from with Graham, obviously. I guess his relationship with Graham improves. That's the next hurdle, isn't it? But even then, he's still saying things to him in Revolution, like, don't be weird, Graham. Yeah, do you know what? I don't know. But I remember thinking at the time, this is like, it's obviously, this is like Ryan's big moment. And in terms of like his performance, it's obviously a very like emotional high, like a peak for him. And after this point, I don't really think in Series 12 Ryan gets put through his paces again in this sort of way. Anyway, yeah, so that's that, isn't it? It's a happy ending. And we never see Ryan's dad ever again.
No.
Maybe he decided that one brush with death was enough.
Yeah, maybe made it big with microwaves.
Maybe put him off selling microwaves.
Yeah, probably switched over to air fryers. What happens after that? They just piss off.
I'm pretty sure they just go.
So what are you giving that one out of 10?
I don't know. I still enjoyed it a lot. 7.5.
Yeah, I'm thinking 7.
Yeah.
I think all the Dalek stuff is so good.
That's the thing about it, isn't it? There's a lot of it that's really good, and the bad bits aren't even as bad as I remember. That might even be a bit harsh. I say 7.5.
Yeah. When you've got the trilogy as a whole, it's a lot more enjoyable knowing what's to come next, what they're going to do next.
Retroactively, yeah, because you don't watch it and that's all you've got to watch. It's like, I remember sat watching it with you for the first time, desperate to see some like gold Daleks and to get some more like Dalek action from the ending. But now I know that we got all that and more in the following episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't care that it's not in Resolution now. It stands on its own as a good first kind of part of this story.
Yeah, I agree.
I retroactively, I think it's better than I remember it being. The stuff with Ryan's dad that slows it down doesn't grate as much as it did. And a lot of the things I like about it are like exclusive to this story, like the characters and the setting. So yeah, I think 7.5, maybe slightly higher. Yeah.
No, it was good. And I really enjoyed the trilogy. And I think the trilogy is one of the best things that Chibnall contributed to Doctor Who. It was such a great idea to have a Dalek story to look forward to every New Year's Day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It was nice that.
And
I think his contributions to Dalek and Cybermen stories were really strong.
Yeah, definitely.
And often quite unorthodox in the way that they approached the monsters, like the Villa Diodati one and all that sort of stuff. But like, I think the payoff was really good, especially for the most part. It was really good. With the Daleks, brilliant. Yeah.
So we're going to leave Jodie's era there for now because we're going to go back to...
Yeah, it's not New Year's anymore, is it?
No, we're going to go back to Pertwee's era because we have the Spearhead from Space screening tomorrow at the BFI, which I'm really excited for.
Same. One of my favourite stories of all time.
Yeah, we're going to make our next episode about that when we come back from the screening. Mm-hmm. Probably not immediately after we come back because the BFI screenings tend to turn a little bit boozy when you attend the Quiz of Rassilon and chill out in the BFI bar. But maybe Sunday we'll have a chat about it. And then we were thinking of then sticking with season 7.
I'd like that very much.
The Liz Shaw season, which I love Liz Shaw. We haven't watched their episodes in years.
It's a great season. It's a great season.
So we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for listening. If you stuck with us to the end, if you stuck with us through all 3 parts, and if you enjoyed this, please consider giving us a nice review. Follow us on the socials.
Yeah, or a comment. We'd love to know what you'd like to see us go through next, or what you'd like to see us analyse next.
Yeah, get in touch. We've had some really lovely messages that I don't think I've even spoken about, but we had somebody contact us about a classic episode that we reviewed, and they said that they had this original prop from it and sent pictures of it just chilling in their conservatory, which was mad. And we love hearing from you. We get a lot of interaction on the memes that we post and things. But yeah, thank you very much. So you're going to do a really amazing, well, you've already done it, a really cool drawing of the Recon Scout Dalek.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that, actually.
And a mutant.
I did use the figure for reference for the colours, and then I realised that actually it's a lot darker. So I had to go and tone it down a lot.
Yeah, that's one of your best drawings, I think. I really, really like it.
I'm pleased with it, I have to say.
I mean, they're always amazing, but that is really, really cool.
All I got to say is, don't expect that level of detail each time.
Okay, I know that you do enjoy drawing Daleks a lot more.
I do like a Dalek, yeah. I do like a
Dalek. Than like Janice Goblin.
But I've come on since I drew that as well, to be fair, haven't I? I've gotten a bit better.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening, and until the next time.
Yeah.